good evening and welcome to the Business of Aesthetics Expert Panel, where your success matters. Tonight, we are tackling the single hardest balancing act in the industry: accountability with empathy, creating ownership without burnout. I'm your moderator, Don Disha, and we are here because the old way of managing, leading through fear and micromanagement, is driving your best talent out the door, but the opposite, being too nice, is diminishing your profitability. Tonight, we are going to fix that. But before we get into things, we'd like to give a massive thank you to our platinum sponsor and growth partner, Echo Marketing, founded by Naren Arulraja, the very same founder of the Business of Aesthetics. For nearly 20 years, Echo has helped aesthetic practice owners across the globe stop being the best kept secret in their town. They believe that great care deserves great visibility. And now here's a small tip from our team at Equa, something every practice owner should be thinking about. The way patients find you online is changing rapidly. So search engines and AI tools like ChatGPT, Google AI overviews, voice assistants now give quick answers on the page. This means people may not be clicking through the way they used to. So traditional search is still important. It is just evolving. So the question becomes, how do you stay the practice patients trust and choose? Well, the answer is simple. Build enough authority and trust so search and AI see your practice as helpful and a reliable source. That means clear, expert driven content, accurate profiles, consistent names, addresses, phone details, strong reviews, and pages that answer real patient questions in a simple, helpful way. In this world, it is not only about being found, it is about being easy to understand and easy to choose. Stick around to the end. We have something that can help you take the next step with confidence and grow your practice. Now, here is a roadmap for the next hour. First of all, we're going to redefine accountability. So that's like moving from who is to blame to how do we solve all this together. Then we're going to get into some of the feedback frameworks, how to correct behavior without crushing morale. And then the financial link, connecting empathy directly to your bottom line. And of course, last but not least, real life solutions, how to manage conflict and underperformance with compassion. And to guide us through these topics, let's meet the experts for tonight. First of all, we have Amy Lynn. Amy didn't just build a clinic, she built a standard. As the founder of Glow Derma and Glow Academy, she realized early on that clinical results mean nothing if the patient experience is flawed. She is the creator of the art of reversal and a master at blending precision safety with emotional intelligence required to lead high performing teams. Amy, welcome to the panel.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Uh, Right. And joining her is Kristen Trujillo. Kristen knows the numbers that keeps you awake at night. As a founding partner at Maven Financial and author of MedSpa Profitability, she has taken a look at the books of hundreds of practices. She knows exactly how a lack of accountability leaks money from your business and how to plug those holes to scale, grow, or exit. Kristen, great to have you at the panel.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Now then, let's get into the main Q&A section here. Right. My first question goes out to you, Amy. Let's start with the definition. In clinical aesthetic environments where precision and safety are non-negotiable, how do you define accountability in a way that elevates standards without creating fear or hesitation within your team? Over to you.
I think the biggest thing as a leader is holding yourself accountable, quite honestly. I see this so many times in aesthetics and in this industry and other industries as well, that it's always the blame game, right? When do we dial back in and also hold ourselves accountable in order to make a positive change? So I think that's something that has shifted with me as well, with my from beginning to now, and evolvement is really important. And that's how I approach everything is that how do I play a position or, so how can I provide a solution, but also where am I involved with this whole situation? And communication is key.
Okay. Now, Amy, many leaders confuse the accountability with policying. What is a mindset shift that a leader needs to make to stop policying and start empowering?
Yeah, like I mean, it's been almost 10 years now. I can't believe it since I opened up Derma, and I see my involvement and my squad and my team. We're family, and I think we're all evolving together. So policy procedure, there's always a standard, there's a core. And what I always believe in is that autonomy within a framework is key. So I want everyone within my organization to also be leaders. So yes, I'm the owner of Derma, owner of Glow Academy, but there is hierarchy. We have leadership, but also how do I continue to grow and inspire and mentor other leaders within the organization? And I think that like through this whole process, just continued communication, like check-ins and these like different little they're very, very simple, but they're really important, especially as you grow and bring on other employees to your organization. Be really selective as far as like who you bring into the squad because energy is our vibe here. So
Mhm.
whoever's around us, whether it's patients, whether it's squad members, it's really important. I'm very protective of that. We need to make sure that's always contained.
Can you give us a story of how this evolution came about? What was it like when you first started, and how is it today?
How much time do we have?
Got a few minutes.
Employees did you start with versus how many employees do you have now?
We have 14 employees now. When I started, it was only me. And then that was me. I started off as a single injector. And the story it's pretty crazy when I think back and look at it. I just did a training the other day with my original rep, Kathleen, who is with Galderma, who met me, and I was like doing all these crazy different things. But she saw something in me and probably something I didn't see in myself. And that's what I really want to bring out of all of my team and squads that if I identified that type of talent or something that they don't see within themselves, I want to bring them out and really like empower them to do the best that they ever could. So I would say the light switch as far as like really dialing in as far as like who I select and maybe not
Mm.
taking everyone into the squad, but basically like being really selective with who I bring into it and being more intentional came through a lot of like life and personal and also work like balance type of issues. I would say that. But I think it was evolving from day one.
Okay, got it. Now, Kristen, let's look at the numbers. From a financial and operational standpoint, where do you most often see accountability gaps affecting profitability? And what patterns tend to signal that ownership is missing inside the practice?
Well, I'm gonna touch on what Amy just said. And I'm going to get in a lot of trouble for this. So if I have any folks that we work with on here, just plug your little ears. But honestly, we probably talked about this. It's always the owners and it's always the leaders. So in terms of accountability and performance opportunities, if it's financial profitability, there's opportunities with the owners not taking accountability to themselves and not identifying what is holding me back or what is the barrier with my team. And then if it's the team not performing, it's the owner, actually. It's their responsibility. So, Amy, you mentioned vibe, and culture is a huge thing. So, whenever you are building and you're growing a business, the people that you have on your team, whether it's just one or two people or it's 14, one person that's underperforming, that makes a huge impact in the total dynamic of what's going on in the business. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm sure you've got examples of wrong person, wrong place, right?
100%. But then when you look back and you reflect, you're like, okay, I should have been more on the point. And that's why me now and moving forward is I hold myself accountable. What have I done that I could have done better? Hold myself
Yep.
accountable. make sure that I trust the people that are around me, helping me to lead. So I'm able to do the things I want to grow. And that's the bottom line, but always staying in tune and in touch because if someone else is not performing, if we're talking numbers, and I'm not a numbers girl, let me just tell you, like I'm the worst with that, right?
That's fine.
That's
Yeah,
why I
that's
would
okay. We all
be
have our
doing this,
place in the
right?
world.
That's why we all work together. But let me tell you, I'm like a doer, I'm a leader. But that micromanagement piece, like that's not my jam. That's why I need to make sure that my leadership is aligned with that because I don't like doing all that stuff. But I need everything to flow. So whether I'm here physically or not, or if I'm on to the next project, I need to make sure my team is completely aligned and doing the mission and that everyone's happy. So my thing is like you have to like look back and say, okay, if this employee maybe is not aligning with me right now, what have I done? And check yourself, hold yourself accountable for that. And if you have all the checks off, you're like, okay, I did my best I could. It's time to let them go. You know, like
Right.
that's kind of like what I do. So I think accountability is huge in leadership, and I think that's lacking a lot, honestly, in leadership. I think egos take over. They think, you know, you get your head starts spinning, you're getting all this attention, you lose contact, you lose connection with your team, but really it goes right back to leadership. And I think that it's really important, no matter what, that you stay on a pulse for that.
It's
Right.
it's really true, and I'm just gonna touch on a few things that you said, but it always is leadership. So if you have an
Mhm.
underperforming staff, it is leadership. Whether it's the owner or whether you have leaders in place, it's the leadership either not giving them the resources to be successful or not holding them accountable. And I
Yes.
believe accountability is kindness. You don't scale a business and you don't grow a business. You don't retain employees unless you have systems and processes, unless you're introspective and you're looking at yourself and how can I support those that are around me, that are around me. Like I joke about this all the time, but I hire really, really smart, intelligent people over here at Maven. And I talk about this a lot with my clients. But if I were to apply at Maven, there's no way they would interview me. But
Um,
I want so much to surround myself with the smartest, most brilliant, kindest people that fit our vibe. Like we don't have a finance bro vibe over here. Like it's very warm and, you know, all of the things that I'm looking for, but we also have systems and processes. If someone is failing, I look at myself first and then I look at, you know, what else is in the way? What can I clear?
100%. 100%. I joke about this. This is a little fun story. So when we did the build out, when we, you know, expanded and into Glow Academy, which is where I'm sitting right now, I said, I want a big girl office that's like my own space. And it's like, I have 5 children. So it's like, I want my own personal space.
Yes.
Do you know where we all hang out? Right back in my office. It's like a sorority house, right? But we're efficient and we get things done and we're working, but we enjoy each other. And that's, I think, something like that connection. There's always a balance with like being like the leader and also having a leadership staff and then so on and so forth. But for me, like, I want that family connection that we know when it's time to work, but we can also be real with one another. And I think that's why our culture really it's so amazing that people don't they want to be a part of it, right? And until they experience it, like we don't want to leave here either. And that's what we also cultivate for our patients.
Kristen, I'm just curious, do you have any examples for us of like a before and after of leadership identifying this gap of accountability and then solving it, and how did that look like on paper?
Yeah. So, you know, I don't specifically do leadership or coaching or anything like that, but I can tell you that every practice that I work with that has high turnover, I notice certain things. And it's always lack of accountability. Like I hear the same things from this owner to this owner to this owner. It's like, oh, well, they just didn't work out and they weren't doing this and they weren't doing that. And I hear this over and over and over. And then the businesses and the owners that are really, really successful or that, maybe they do something about it. Like me personally, and I talk to a lot of my clients that are struggling with this, maybe there's an opportunity to hire an executive coach. I
Mm,
have an executive coach. I actually, for my team, I keep an executive coach on retainer so that
mm,
anyone that wants to leverage them to navigate a difficult situation, to grow and develop in one aspect of their career, whether it's executive presence or it's communicating effectively, if it's, navigating a tricky situation. I think it's really, really important. I think we're very comfortable talking about therapy with each other anymore, but, recognizing how I show up in business is really important, how I show up for my team. And so, those are some of the things that I talk about, and also some of the things that are pretty consistent. So if I see someone struggling and failing, profitability, team, there's typically an opportunity there.
Kristen, what is the common thread though? Just basically the leaders not holding themselves accountable and they're
It's
blaming
not
like
them.
everything else. It's never them.
It's
But
not
think about
them.
that in life, right? Like you meet a friend, you
Yes.
meet a significant other, and it's like it's never them, right? So I think like on my journey, it's like, okay, where have I played a role in this and how can I do better? So therapists, absolutely. Astrologists, 100%.
A
Spiritual
hundred
advisors,
percent.
yes. We have a board of like, basically support teams. And it's like, and because I'm open to all of it because we can all always do better. The second anybody says, I got it all figured out, like that's what's scary. And the second
oh,
that everyone says that like everything's going great, but everyone's walking out the door and you're not, retaining amazing people and stuff, you need to look yourself in the mirror and realize that you might be the problem. And like that's, I think, something that as leaders and also like business owners overall need to start like taking a pause and saying, okay,
mm.
here we are. And like, here I am. So it's not always everyone else's issue. Like, I might be the
And
problem.
it,
And it's a
and
humbling
Amy,
It's
experience.
humbling experience, 100%.
It puts you in a vulnerable place, and a lot of people, it's very
1000%.
uncomfortable. So,
I experienced that when I went through my divorce, right? I mean, it went through like me putting on this act and I had opened up Glow Dharma and everything was fast and furious and everyone thought I had the perfect life. It gets exhausting after a while.
yeah.
And then you have to pause and like figure it out and reset. And that's okay. And I think that patients can feel that. I think that my squad members feel that you don't always have to put on that act. You can be vulnerable. You can feel safe and you be in a place that you're supported and loved with. And I think that as far as retention, that's going to give you so much value in the long run as far as happiness and also success.
let's talk a little bit more about that, Amy. As a clinical trainer working with providers at different skill levels, how do you set clear performance expectations while still honoring that individual growth curve and learning style?
It's a great question. So I've evolved with this as well, as far as like who I bring in and who I'm going to train and mentor. So I can say really happily, I'm looking at Cheryl right now, who's our director of education and so many other things. We were the first in the country that actually have accreditation with Drexel University in Philadelphia, so right in our backyard, to have an official aesthetic medicine co-op. So this is not only exciting just for us, but for our industry that now we're being recognized as an actual specialty. So there's a track. So as like I've learned through the process, I've had people who have had experience, no experience, how much dedication. I've learned what I need to give to my providers also to be successful because I don't want to just put somebody in the chair or in front of the chair and just say, go inject like revenue money. Like that's not it. Like it is about the whole person. It's a holistic approach. But Cheryl and I worked on this and we were the first to do this, which is really exciting. So we basically have a 6-month co-op with Drexel University, which means that they do their internship or co-op experience with us, which is awesome. So no one ever wants to leave. So that's been a great retention as far as like having somebody come in, try it out for 6 months and I mean, till now, it's been 100% as far as retention with that. So they get to really see like behind the scenes. They get trained on front desk. They get trained as a medical assistant. They're in the room all day, every day. They're getting the education. They get to see all of it and they have access to it all. From there, it's what are you going to do with it? So as far as like setting someone up for success, we are really intentional and we want to make sure that like this is actually something they want to do. This sounds great to the majority of people. We want to get out. I mean, I was ER trauma and I actually loved it, but, get out of these other clinical settings. But like, what are your intentions? Do you understand the person as like the actual like human being who are trusting you with their finances, their personal life? Like, they're like, what do you want to do with it? We are not a like, Groupon, turn by number, like kind of thing. We are focused on that person. So I think that's one thing that we've done as far as like maintaining standards overall is making sure that we vet people and we take people in that they actually experience the whole thing from in and out, understand that it's a lot more than just like putting something to their face and to a
Mhm.
person because I hold our patients to like, I mean, they're my family. Like they're all of ours. And I would never ever set someone else on either end of the syringe for not to be successful.
There we go. And Kristen, let's talk a little bit more about the HR side of things. When practice owners struggle with underperformance, how can they address it in a way that protects both team morale and the long-term health of the business?
So Amy has talked a lot about this, and I don't know if you've said this word, but it's true. It's very obvious in how you're talking about how you support your team and how you recognize, hey, I am still a person and I have gone through, peaks and valleys in terms of not just my personal life, but, sometimes work is hard, sometimes life is hard. And I think showing up with authenticity is just so key. Like we are all human, but the energy must be high, like, and we need to be aware of that. And the vibe must be, where the vibe needs to be. But I think, having that authenticity is really, really important, especially if you're having difficult conversations. And I also, I have a very you said like how do you make it not rigid, but I have this process that is a performance infrastructure within my
Okay.
organization. And I also have processes for everything. So how can I set expectations? And it's not personal whenever I have a conversation about performance. This is the standard of operations here.
Yes.
It's setting the standard. And I talk to our clients about this a lot. So if there's inconsistencies, let's think about patient care. And you were
Mhm.
talking about, I want the patients to like, I'm not going to put somebody that is not skilled, like with a syringe with this patient, because, I care about the person, but I also care about the patient. Like, what if there's a different experience happening in every room? That's a problem.
Right.
That's a big problem. And then performance infrastructure. So
Mhm.
monthly touch bases. I do this with all of my team members. So, and there's different team members that report to different people. But like Steve and I had a conversation today. We have a conversation every single month. And it's very open. So he gives me feedback, I give him feedback, and we identify what we're going to work on and what we need to change. And I need to hear it, and sometimes I don't want to hear it. But back to I'm going to be have authenticity. I'm going to be authentic, and I'm going to have to be humble sometimes. And
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And it's
so,
really uncomfortable sometimes.
no,
It's
tell me that I'm
so,
great and that I'm beautiful and
yeah,
perfect, and like
that's
that's all I
great.
want to hear.
Positive
Like,
affirmations. No, but like you
yeah,
gotta dial in. And that's kind of like the era that I'm in right now too. Like going through different like, situations and stuff. It's really like focusing with like, who do I trust? Who can I be that like, humble and just like raw with and help me just get everything like back in order, which it's a great process, but I think that's the way so many people are probably thinking, and they're just afraid to take that chance. But do it like with the right people, because
right.
that's really important.
How are you choosing the right people, Amy?
Oh, Lord have mercy on me. Krista, maybe you should take this. How am I choosing? I'm very selective and I I take my time for sure. Because there's times that even if you think that people who are like for you and looking after you and everything like that, I gave too much of my trust to that. And I think that moving forward is that I always have to have somewhat of a pulse on the heart of the business and whatever's going on. So that's a learning curve for me. And I'm excited. I'm not afraid to admit it. And I think that the more people that hear it, I think many people have been in that situation. And that, it's very easy to get into. You're doing your thing, you have all the excitement, you have a team going, and like, we're medical providers, we didn't go to business school, we're not CPAs, we didn't know any of this stuff. Like, I was ER trauma, mother of five, like took a class, hustled like concierge, and then here we are, Gloderma, and like, you're just going, right? How many people are in that same situation where they're like just going, but then it's time to just take a minute and say, how can I do this better? And how am I not going to repeat the past, right? As far as like the different like things, because people take advantage of you, and they do, and that's human nature, right? People see an opportunity, they might take advantage of you, but you have to forgive that and just move beyond it. And I think that's the biggest thing. Don't let that be a block. Take it as a
Mm.
learning opportunity on how you can be better moving forward in the future with momentum. And I think that now I'm just very, very intentional with who I align myself with, whoever, whether it's the squad, my leadership team, CPAs, like, financial advisors, like everything like that. Now it's time to like clean it up, get the core tight so I can continue to grow with stability and consistency. And that's kind of like my momentum moving forward is that, because we can all get caught up with that, and it's exciting and it's great, but then you take a pause and you're like, whoa, what is going on behind the scenes, even if everything is looking like it's going great.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm curious, Amy, how are you reflecting and really moving beyond? What's driving that? How does that look like for you on a real base example?
Real basic example, I think it's just like holding myself accountable and taking a pause and just kind of not pause in business or pause in what I'm doing, but just kind of really reflecting it, taking a moment to say, okay, here are the systems, what's working, what's not. Because I'm with you, Kristen, like big time. I am obsessed with perfecting like standard operating procedures. Like, I love to make procedures better, and like, how do we do this? And we're always reevaluating that in our office. But like, to take a true moment to say like, okay, what loose ends maybe could be tied up in a loop? Why are we not doing it this way? I'm kind of like perfecting that way. I hate saying perfecting. I didn't mean to say that, but like basically making it more improved and better, and that we're all working together for the same goal. And yeah, I think accountability, I love the name of this because I think that it's real. I think that we all need to hold ourselves accountable more.
Right. Now, Kristen, how does empathy show up in leadership decisions relate to compensation, budgeting, and scaling, especially when difficult financial choices need to be made?
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about some things that Amy was just talking about. But, you asked her about like, how do you put the right people in the right place? And, or how do you identify who you're going to bring on your team? And she answered, well, I take my time. And I think it is really important. So if you are trying to be profitable, sometimes, slow is better, and taking your time to get there and being really intentional about who you add and what you add.
Mhm.
Not, trying to collect all of the shiny devices that you see at the show just to have them. I don't know what's going on. And then like, oh, I want to have 50 locations, or I want to have 50 employees. Well, 50 employees in 50 locations, that's a lot more problems. So why do you want that? And what is the goal? And, Are you really understanding where you're at? But I think, if you're having difficult conversations with your team around compensation, I get asked about compensation about 17 times a day. That's all we do. We talk about compensation all the time. It's sensitive to people. Money is sensitive to people. It's people's livelihoods. It's and the owner, they're on one side of the spectrum and the employee is on the other side of the spectrum. So I think it's important to also have some standardization with your compensation structures. I
Mhm.
think that if you can tie compensation around performance, that it's really helpful. And it makes it, hey, you're coming to me for a raise, but there are opportunities to get raises here. So,
Yeah.
something that I like to put together and implement is there's an opportunity for the folks that are making hourly, there's an
Mhm.
annual review where, based on their performance with all of these different things, they can earn an increase in their base wage. And then
Yeah.
for people that impact, other things within the practice, you can have KPIs, you can have lots of different things that you evaluate performance on. And if they're contributing to grow the business, if they are making the
Mhm.
business a better place, if they're changing the business, we have these things called core competencies, and it's like 12 different things. And it's not just like, did you make money today? It is things like, are you responsible? Do you have integrity? Are you communicating effectively, collaborating with others? And there's like 7 definitions under these. So it
Mhm.
makes having these performance conversations, I'm taking the emotion out of it. Like,
Right.
are
Mm.
you demonstrating these things? And like it's pretty clear. So I'd say if you don't have an infrastructure and you're constantly battling with a team, because we hear it all the time, like, hey, so and so came to me about a raise. I'm like, okay, well, do you have a performance review process?
You have
Like,
something that you show adds value. So accountability goes both ways, right?
Mm.
So
yes,
you can sit there and say, as a leader, I'm holding myself accountable, but you have to hold your staff, your squad accountable as well. Because everyone will ask, like as much as they want, but like, how are you going to do it on the return? So I agree with you completely, Kristen, with what you're saying. Like, it's holding everyone accountable with empathy.
everyone with empathy and providing transparency.
Yeah,
So
that's it. We got the trifecta.
Empathy,
no, I think
transparency.
we're done here. Like,
Yeah, drop the mic and walk away. Empathy, authenticity, and transparency. I mean, there we go. Secret sauce.
yes,
Secret solved. Okay, fantastic. Thank you for the
Ron,
wrap
how
up
you
there.
doing?
Exactly.
I'll do a check-in.
Now, we do have a question from one of our audience members here. Lizette is asking, what does work-life balance look like for employees? Can you tell when employees are getting burned out? Um, Amy, let's start with you.
Sure. I'm really big with that for sure. I've had to adjust a lot of things as far as like work-life balance. I hate the word balance, right? Because it's like, I think that's so much pressure. I think it's like everyone thinks, what am I balancing and this and that. There's always going to be something, if you're pouring more into a cup at one time, something else might be lacking. So I'm really, really supportive of all of my team members. We literally like, if someone needs babysitting, my kids are like babysitting like my squad members, like little kids, because they're all older now, or like we work together. Like it's very cohesive, but that's the environment that we have. Um, and no one takes advantage of that, which is amazing because I think it's really important that you have a work-life balance. I never want anybody to feel that they're drained and like they're missing out on something because they're here. We all have to put in the effort. And when you earn
Mhm.
that, then like that's something that I really have a strong, value for.
And when can you tell when employees are getting burned out?
We talk.
Okay.
yeah, you need to talk.
Easy. That's it.
Easy.
Communication.
Okay. You
Yeah.
talk and
I can touch on that a little bit. I mean, just going back to the things that Amy and I have both spoken about, but just having these monthly touch bases. And I don't know how often, I talk to my team every day, but these monthly touch bases they're very intentional and we have an agenda and we talk about things. So there's a feedback exchange. There's
Yes.
things that you're
Mhm.
working on. And there's like this portion of like, how are you doing? And like, tell me what's going well, tell me what's not. Tell me what's
Okay.
standing in your way. Let's talk about that. So
Absolutely.
I
Mm.
don't want to be surprised by burnout. Now, I also am very much of the mindset. I do not subscribe or believe that there is this thing that every day is perfectly balanced. It's a
Okay.
Never,
very long spectrum
never,
of it's never like that. Some days are harder and some weeks are more demanding and
100%.
some are not. But can we all support each other in a way? Like I've got a very flexible, my team works really hard, like the folks that I work with. So, just kind of giving an example like that, but I am also going to be flexible if somebody like needs to do something. There's like a personal something going on, like you've got a sick relative or actually don't even ask me about PTO, like just make sure you follow this process and
Yeah.
let me know and how can I support you in this time of need.
Exactly.
And if I have somebody that takes advantage of it, then I probably have the wrong person on my
And you're
team.
done. I mean, that's the thing. It's like if that happens, but like that's I think we've weaned a lot of that out here, honestly, probably 100%. And we all support one another because we all actually love to be here with each other. And we go through like withdrawal, but like we're all working together for the same goal is to make people feel and look more confident, glow out in the universe. And I know that sounds very cliche, but that's always been our motto. And people come in, even any of our squad members, they might be having a day and they can decompress, but we know that we can compartmentalize and do that and we can figure it out after, but everyone leaves feeling better, you know? And that's always been the mission with that. But I think making sure that you communicate and you talk about it, that if someone's feeling lost or going through something, just talk about it. Communication is key.
It
Thank you.
really is. It's so key. I've had multiple conversations over the last 6 months. Like we have had a lot of growth. So with a lot of growth, I am constantly having to hire. And
Mhm.
if I'm constantly having to hire, as you know, and you'll see this on the clinical side, but if you are spending all of your time training, then you're not doing other things. And training someone to do something takes double the amount of time.
Right.
So just being, cognizant, having these touch points, recognizing when you need to make decisions in your business. If you are very aware, if you're very in tune, if you're constantly evaluating how the team is doing, how processes are going, patient satisfaction, we're talking about, you and your
Mhm.
practice, like are patients leaving feeling this way? Because the
Right.
last thing that I would want is for a patient to feel the energy of it being stressful in my
Mhm.
environment. So I take a lot of things that are going on with me as a business owner, and because it's all relative, but
I agree with you 1,000,000%. Honestly, I can't even say 1,000%, 1,000,000%. Then it dilutes the brand and it dilutes the business as a business.
yes,
So that's why you need
yes,
to pour into them, but they need to pour it back to you as well. It needs to
yes.
be a relationship, right?
Yep.
So like it's not so much of like what I can do, but it's also up to you to identify the people that are going to pour it back to you as well. And then everyone wins. It's very simple.
Communication and structured communication at
Yes.
that
Yeah, see,
Empathy.
ingredients.
so many gems here.
See, there we go. We have the trifecta. We have to like brand that.
Absolutely. So before we continue, I would like to share a small message from our sponsor here. So we are halfway through, and we've talked a lot about ownership and gaps. One of the biggest gaps is new patient flow. You can have the best internal culture, but if your phone isn't ringing with high-value patients, the stress will return. So earlier we asked when a patient searches for you by looking up either Botox near me, Morpheus 8 cost, lip fillers before and after near me. Are you the practice that gets found, trusted, and chosen? Well, our sponsor, Echo Marketing, are supporting over 500 plus healthcare practices, and they are offering something incredible, especially for this group here tonight. So it is a complimentary marketing strategy meeting. In your strategy session, you'll sit down with a senior marketing analyst who already works with thriving aesthetic practices across North America. You'll get a live audit of how you can attract more clients, build your reputation, and grow sustainably. The marketing analyst will actually spend several hours researching your online presence, your competition, your local SEO, everything. And they'll come to the call ready to walk you through custom recommendations just for your practice. Now, this session is designed to help you answer those questions and fix anything that's not quite working. It's usually a $900 valued session, completely complimentary for you tonight. You'll see a QR code on the screen. You can scan that with your phone to book your session or check the chat for a direct link. It'll take less than a minute to book. Availability is limited since, as I mentioned, every audit involves real research into your local market. Now, perhaps here's how to think about offers like this. What's the risk if you say yes? Honestly, it'll just be your time. There's no obligation whatsoever. But what's the risk if you don't? Well, you might be missing out on something that could really help you grow your practice in 2026. So I'll leave that with you, but truly encourage you to book your opportunity and it'll be time well spent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Right. So, Amy, let's talk about the mechanism of correction. What does effective feedback look like in a high-performing aesthetic team, and how do you ensure it and motivates improvement rather than defensiveness?
That's great. So we do a culture survey at least once annually, just so like it's totally anonymous. And I mean, anonymous, but I get to see what the answers are, but I'm just kidding. But it's a really good self-evaluation as well that like everyone can feel really confident that if there are areas that they feel they could be lacking, we just did this recently and it was so cool, I will say, comparing
Mhm.
2 years ago to now like the practice gaps and like the concerns. I mean, it was like a 180 night and day. And I was just so proud of like my team and like me a little bit too that like we've identified that's why you do this. So when you have these like culture like evaluations, you have to be raw and real. And I never want anyone to feel like they have to like answer these questions because they are afraid, right? Because we're a team and we're a squad and a family, like I said. But compared to 2 years ago to now, the growth that we've made in leadership, in what we've done to basically execute some of the concerns from back then, I was
Mhm.
like, I was so happy. It was like this, like I'm like, wow, like we're doing pretty good. So we do those. We make sure that we're consistent with squad meetings, as far as like general like check-ins, like day to day, like here we are with this because we're a busy practice, but we are also very close. But a lot of times, like not everyone's connected to the communication, so we make sure that we're really consistent with that. And what was the original question? I'm going to ask you again. Was that how do we keep it together? Because I could just keep
So
going.
it's, of course, what does effective feedback look like in a
That's it.
high-performing?
So effective feedback was so I went back and I looked at the comments from 2 years ago. And I could have either gotten like, oh my God, like, back up and like upset and like mad or just assumed who said what or this and that. No. What I did 2 years ago was look at that feedback and I played it into a way that was going to be effective and implement that moving forward. And I executed that. So when look like it's almost like 2 years goes like this, right? A lot of the feedback was not pointed directly to me, but how things could have been done better culturally. On the day to day, there was a lot of things like happening. Not necessarily, it wasn't like that bad, but I took it. But I'm like looking at it 2 years later, I'm like so happy that the feedback is completely, it's like night and day. And I'm
Okay.
just, I think that that's how I take the feedback. I love constructive criticism, especially with people that I love and value. But that was really an eye opener. And I was really proud of the entire team and squad.
Proud of you. I
Love
love
that.
that story.
Yeah, it was cool. Like I do the Gallup Strength Finders, thing
Yeah,
too.
I do
Like when we,
too. Uh-huh.
I love that, right?
Yes.
And I had everyone redo it because I wanted to see like how they grew within that because
Uh,
we're always growing. So it was interesting to see like what someone's strengths were or like 2, 3 years ago to what they are now. And it just shows evolvement. And then, but actually the culture survey, which I've stressed this a lot in our conversation, is so important to see the difference from either even like 2 years ago to now. You think you're doing great, but then you're like, wow, look where we've moved into that. Like,
Mhm.
I'm just really happy about that.
That's
would be.
wonderful. And is it something that is scheduled to happen like annually?
Annually, yes. Once a year, we do that. As far as like squad meetings, we do that like every month. As far as check-ins, but we have routine with leadership, like even like twice a month, just to check in with providers, make sure everything's good. It's an open door here as far as like scheduling and like just like making sure that we have time for that. Even if I'm off site, communication again comes into a big play, but making sure that you schedule even like once a month or every other month a whole group setting to like sit down and say like this is what's going on, these are our goals, and making sure that all communication from every single aspect of the business is being handled.
Right. Kristen, you seemed like you wanted to add something there.
I just got really excited about a culture survey.
Yeah.
I think
I'll send
it's
it to you. We made it up.
yes. I use one with my business, but I encourage this for a lot of practice owners, especially if we're having conversation after conversation about performance, about
Mm.
just people not meeting expectations and lack of accountability. And I had a similar experience actually. We did one maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and there were some things about the way that I show up as a leader. And there were also things where had someone that was in the wrong person, wrong place, right? So
Mm.
it's really
Mm.
important to evaluate.
I agree.
And this is not specific to my business. So I talk about my business whenever I'm talking to practice owners because it's all the same. It I'm not doing needles in a face. Like I accidentally went to a cadaver lab once, like Lord help me, that was not my place in the world. I'm in the world of spreadsheets. But we're where I'm taking care of practice owners, you're taking care of patients. There's systems and processes, and there are things that need to be, pretty consistent and a lot of similarities. But there was a lot of just feedback in general. Identified it, really
Mm.
reflected. It hurt my feelings. And once again, being humble is just going to have to be part of it. Like it's not going to feel comfortable. And I like sometimes I've got my instinctive nature is to take things personally. I can't take it personally. I have to, I got to do something about it. I need to sit with it. Because my instinct is to feel frustrated and like that couldn't be me. That was somebody else, obviously.
Kristen,
But
not to intervene. What is your sign?
I'm a Taurus.
Okay, I'm a Gemini, so I'm a cusper though, so I get that. Just wanted to,
Oh.
yes. Okay,
Well, we prefaced that we were gonna mix astrology into this before
exactly.
we started, so here
Absolutely
it
It's really
is.
important.
And
critical.
Mercury retrograde, we had the lunar
All the
eclipse,
things.
like all the
It's
things. There's a
happening
lot
like
going on,
right now.
Yeah, the lunar.
literally
Yeah.
right
Sorry, I got
now.
excited.
Right, it's
Just
actually happening as we speak.
As we speak. So anyway, we're gonna have to wrap this up so we can all bask in it. But anyway, um, so I, I had to make some changes. I worked with my executive coach. I brought her the feedback. And I think if you take anything away, if you reflect on yourself, if you look in the mirror, like you said, if you send your clients a survey. It sounds like you'll, like, if anybody wants to reach out to Amy, she's got a culture survey for your practice. I think that's a really great best practice to at least do once a year.
Yeah.
wonderful. Wonderful. And we have a question from one of our attendees as well. Akash asks, patients, requests, questions, problems are 24/7, but employees aren't. How do you mitigate that without doing it all yourself and burning out as the owner? Amy, let's
I have
get
I
it.
have an amazing leadership team that we have systems aligned. As I know I've mentioned that we're very family oriented and we're very cohesive, but we do have a lot of systems aligned as to who and what you go to for certain things. Even in a smaller, I would say, we're 13, 14 people. We have some per diems here now. I think that's really important with that, and that's why I don't get burned out. So I travel a lot, I educate a lot. I that's like as a business owner, it's like, what do you want your life to look like? Do you want to be stuck and like not stuck, but like, is that what you want to do the rest of your life? Or do you want to grow a legacy for not only yourself, but also your family and everyone that comes into it so that you have flexibility in order to experience other opportunities? I mean, that's where I'm at right now. And you need to make sure that you have the core tight and that you trust every single person that's working with you from start to finish and everything in between in order to do that. Because why do people start businesses, right? Like, I'll ask you guys that. Like, why do people start businesses? Just so what? Make money? Or do you want a lifestyle? Do you want a legacy? Do you want to like provide that for every single person around you? So that's where I'm at with my point. It's like it's not about the money, it's not about the fame. It's about how do I make a system that everyone is also basically like gaining and like thriving and doing great, but I also am enjoying my life.
There we go.
I think that is
Uh,
such a great point. Back to the accountability piece, I feel like so many people think that they are participants in life and that life is happening to them.
Correct.
But we're creating it and you're creating your business. And that's why you, as the owner, as the leader, it's foundational for you to identify what needs to be better. I talk about SWOT analysis. So are you as a leader not just, being pensive and retrospective or introspective about what is happening and how can I make this better? The processes and the systems that you put in place when it was just you versus two people versus three people, it probably looks a lot different now that it's 14, right?
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. You just have to put the right people in alignment that are aligned with your evolvement, basically. And there's going to be some that come and go. You have to be accepting of that. And I think that that's what happens sometimes. So I question sometimes people who want to open up their own practice and they think it's a lot, right? But it's worth it if it's for the right reason. And
yes.
you put yourself in a position that you align yourself with the best people in the world. Like I couldn't imagine, I pinch myself sometimes. And I'm like, me, like 15 years ago, I could never thought that I was doing this in a gazillion years, right? It just happened. It was very authentic. And I'm so grateful each and every day. But I didn't force any of this. I didn't put out my intention for money, for like success, for fame, or anything like that whatsoever. I just wanted to make a positive impact and I just went with it. So, I mean, but you need to have your systems aligned in order to actually maintain that and sustain that.
Kristen, I have a follow-up question from the previous question, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, with regards to, handling criticism from your teammates, having a look back at things, right? The annual review. So you mentioned, both of y'all mentioned that, you had to kind of do a little bit of a double take on your own involvement in, how you're showing up. So I'm just curious as to what was the best format that you got feedback in that made the biggest impact?
For me, I get
Yeah.
feedback regularly from my team whenever I'm having these one-on-ones. I advise practice owners if you are not doing this and you don't have a system, and a lot of the issues that we talk about on a day-to-day basis, it goes back to there are no performance, there's no opportunity for you to have conversation with your team, for you to understand and have open conversation because they're intimidated to receive the feedback. It's also overwhelming and intimidating to give the feedback. A lot of people don't want to have these tough conversations, and it's not tough, it's kind. And
I
I think what Amy was saying, like, you had positive intention and it wasn't to get X, Y, and Z. And I talked to a lot of folks that are like, oh, I heard this med spa thing is really taking off. I think I'm gonna open them and I'm gonna be sitting on an island in 5 years after I acquire 50 of them. And I'm like, well, it doesn't
really,
work like that. But anyway, I don't mean to pop your bubble, but anyway, the business owners that are really, really successful, they are evolving and they're having fun and they're doing things the right way. And if something is disruptive in the energy, the environment, the output, the patient care, the
consistent.
leadership, the community, all of the things, then they recognize it and it does go by just like that because you're just working. And it's not even
Yeah.
cognizant that you're doing it. You just want to do good. And the business
So,
owners
Chris,
that want to do good and be good, they get good.
and Kristen, what I really meant was like, okay, I'm going to give you some feedback now, as your employee. And
Yeah.
so I'm going to say, Kristen, I don't I do not like how you are holding the meetings. Or do you want feedback like that, or else something like, because you mentioned KPIs, being responsible for them, part of the core competences, or should I be giving you feedback like Kristen? I think I'm not, bring the data.
I
I
get
bring
what
the
you're
data.
saying now. That's a great question. It's a very great question. And Amy, I'm sure you have to do this with your team, but it's really important that we're psychologists as an owner.
Absolutely.
And you need to understand it's not your employee's responsibility to change who they are and how they communicate to you. It is your responsibility as the owner and as the leader for you to flex to them always. So, whenever I am talking to people, really anyone, I am studying how you are. Do you like information in bite-sized pieces? Do you like it very direct? Do I need to soften it? Because
Mhm.
what I say to this person, even if it's the same message and the same outcome, I'm going to tailor it to you. And I think it's really important that you take that time and who am I surrounding myself around?
Mhm.
And
One
how can I show up for them?
So we talk a lot about what are your love languages, right? So I can, and it sounds funny, but honestly, like everybody learns, and like how do I cultivate that human, right? And to be the best person. I have 5 children. I cannot parent all my 5 children the same way. They're five
Okay.
different humans, right? So how could I expect to have like a standard of how I'm going to bring out the best in this one and this one as a squad? I need to learn them and understand like what motivates them. And how can I like also cultivate like that sort of consistency within organization? And it can't always be like, so this is what you do, like black and white. No, you have to be adaptable. You have to humanize every experience, whether it's seeing patients and also with your squad in that direction. So I think it's really, really important.
So I give the analogy about, I use animals and I use plants. So
Mhm.
are you going to teach a fish to climb a tree? No, I'm not going to teach the fish to climb a tree. I'm going to teach the bear to climb a tree or the cat to climb a tree. And if you think about the team around you, you probably have some tomato plants and you've got an orchid and you have a succulent. And I cannot give them all the same amount of sunlight and the same amount of water and the same environment because that succulent, it's going to die in this environment, but if I put it in this one, it will thrive.
Right.
So
I love that analogy. That was beautiful.
thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the answers. And now we have arrived at the top of the hour. So before we wrap things out, a rapid fire session real quickly. Amy, let's see. What is one sentence you want every leader to write on a post-it note and stick onto their computer tomorrow?
Oh, geez. Um, Live every day like it's your last.
Okay, absolutely. Kristen, what is the one financial habit that will give them the peace of mind to lead with empathy?
The one financial piece of advice that will allow folks to lead with empathy? I think that is a loaded question, Dawn. But I do think that, your financials shouldn't be scary, but you should be looking at them and you should be aware of them. And so if you are aware, it's going to make them less frightening and less intimidating. So you can act with empathy and not make rash decisions because I haven't looked at it in 6 months and oh, now there's a problem. There's a leaky bucket that I gotta plug, but
Let's do one more rapid fire. Come on, let's go. Come on, Doc.
Okay.
One more round.
Well, how about if we wrap it up by saying if a practice owner wants to immediately strengthen accountability while maintaining empathy, what's the foundational shift they should prioritize first?
That's a long sentence I want to say. What should I prioritize? What do they want their life to look like moving forward? And it's not always about the moment. It's about what do you want in the big picture, right? Your foundation, who you surround yourself with, and make sure that you are always protected for sure.
Okay. Kristen, same question to you.
I will default to Amy's answer because that was perfect and beautiful.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Truly.
That
Yes,
truly was. That truly
it
I
was.
love
was.
us.
And
I know. This was so fun. Yeah.
Let's do it again.
amazing, amazing. So we've covered incredible ground tonight, from redefining accountability to the financial frameworks that support it, as well as communication being such an integral part in it. Amy Lynn, Kristen Trujillo, thank you so much for sharing your experiences and insights with us. Two final reminders to everyone. The Equa Gift, claim your complimentary Equa Strategy meeting. If patients in your city are searching for injectables, lasers, body contouring, make sure you're the one they find, trust, and choose. Links in the chat one last time, limited spots, book now. Feedback. A survey will pop up as you exit. Please take 30 seconds to fill it out. It'll allow us to bring even better events to you. And of course, to our audience member, remember empathy is not weakness. It is the fuel that allows accountability to stick. On behalf of Business of Aesthetics, I'm Dan Adisha. Go build a team that owns their results. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.